Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger bringing you, as always, keto without the crazy. Quick reminder that Adapt Your Life Academy has our brand new course on type 1 diabetes coming out soon. Check out the link below in the notes. Enrollment opens November 28th. But get on the wait list now. Get on the list now so that you don't miss the announcement of when it is actually available to purchase and start taking the course. If you want to know more about our course for type 1 diabetes, I will put a video down below that, or just watch my video from last week. I did a video telling you all about that course. Okay, on to today's topic. This is a topic that I get asked about a lot. How to get back on track with keto. And when people ask me this question, getting back on track, it's not anything like, yeah, you had one little meal off plan, or maybe you had one little bite of something. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where you had maybe been doing pretty well with keto, even if it was only for a few weeks. You were kind of starting to build that momentum, starting to get some good results, and then kersplat, you've been face first in sugar and starch for a few weeks, maybe even a few months. So again, getting back on track typically means you were on track for some period of time, but you've been away from keto for a while. You're basically back on a high carb standard type Western diet. So how do you get back on track? And there's two things that I want to tell you about. We're going to start with a little bit of tough love, and then we're going to get into some of the more, I don't know what the word is, more explanations for why people think it's hard to get back on track. So, starting with the tough love, how do you get back on track? Stop eating carbs. There's the $1 million answer. Feel free to PayPal me for all that. I mean, how do you get back on track? You get back on track. Like you know that that's all you have to do, right? Stop eating carbs. That's what a keto diet is. It's a very, very low carbohydrate diet. So how do you get back on track? Stop eating high carb foods. Period. End of story. How do you stop eating high carb foods, or how do you get back to what works? Or if nothing was working for you, like I said in the video that recently that was a big hit, it was 2 ways to stick to keto. One way was to download the world famous Dr. Westman's page 4 diet that I said was literally one sheet of paper. This is a food list that people have used to lose hundreds of pounds and reverse their type 2 diabetes and reverse their PCOS and all this other good stuff that happens. So that's one way. Download this list. There's a link in the notes of every single video I do to purchase the world famous page 4 diet. The world famous page 4 diet happens to be the exact same food list that's in our book, End Your Carb Confusion. So either place. That's one way you could do it. Just stop eating carbs. Of course, thinking strategically, probably a really good way, or something that's going to help you do that, is to prepare your environment. This is easier said than done if you live in a household or in whatever kind of living arrangement where there are your spouse, your significant other, your kids, your parents, whatever, where you have to contend with other people's high carb foods. Because if you live alone, you can absolutely do the purge of all the sugar and starch that has accumulated in your environment. Get rid of it. Do a nice big grocery shopping of lots of stuff that is suitable. And another suggestion, I'm going to put lots of links below. I did a video a while back on food prep, and it is a game changer for some people, because I'm not just talking about making a little bit extra, make a little bit extra with dinner so that you can take the leftovers for lunch to work tomorrow. No, we're talking about massive quantities of food, preparing mountains of food ahead of time so that there's always something ready to go at a second's notice when you're hungry and you're stressed out and you're irritable and you don't want to first whip out all the pots and pans to cook. You reach into the fridge, guess what? Dinner's ready because you cooked it 3 days ago. Anyway, I will link to that food prep video. That all of that stuff can help you get back on track in terms of like, okay, I need to stop eating the carbs. Now, that was the tough love. Like, how do you do it? You just do. The other stuff is more of this, right? How do we get this back on track? Because knowing what to do is the easy part. Don't eat carbs. Oh, follow this list. Thanks for that news flash, Amy. Thanks for that brilliant genius insight. Why didn't I think of that? Right. So that's how you get back on track. But what do we do here? I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that the reason, like when people ask, how do I get back on track? You know how. You stop eating carbs. Like this isn't complicated. How do I get back on track? I don't know. Stop ordering pasta when you go to a restaurant. Order the steak and green vegetable instead. Like, why is this complicated? But again, we know what to do. How do we get ourselves to actually do it? Or what is it psychologically that's standing in the way of us doing it? And I think for a lot of people, they just psych themselves out. They're making it out to be so complicated. They're making it, they've sort of built keto, this big thing that they have to do now, and their whole life has to revolve around. Like they've built it into this thing that it's become intimidating, when it really doesn't have to be. It's so simple and straightforward, right? And so I think one thing that can help is take that pressure down. Give yourself a clean slate, a fresh start, a brand new start. Pretend like this is the first time you've ever done a low carbohydrate or ketogenic diet. You pretend you have no experience with this before ever. Pretend that you've never even heard of macros. You've never heard of MCT oil. You've never heard of intermittent fasting. You've never heard of autophagy. You've never heard of omega-6. You've never heard of seed oils. You've never heard of lectins or oxalates or goitrogens or I don't know what. You never heard of any of it. The only thing you know is that you need to keep your carb intake really, really low. Clean slate. So I think that can help too. Take away all of that, like really, truly pretend this is the first time you've ever done it. And another thing is that leave the past in the past. You know, this I got from someone else. I don't remember where I heard it. It was a long time ago, but there's a reason that your windshield in your car, the windshield, is so much larger than the rear view mirror. And it's because, okay, well, I said that backward. What's ahead of you in keto is so much more important than what's behind you. You know, if you're driving, of course, you want to like take a look at that rear view mirror. You got to look at what's behind you, you know, coming at you. But in terms of getting back on track, there are only two things that matter. Only two. Do you know what they are? What you're doing right now and what you do next. Two things. What you're doing now and what you're going to do next. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter what you did 10 minutes ago. It doesn't matter what you did 6 months ago or 6 years ago. You know, I don't care if you did the Atkins diet in 1978. I don't care if you did the Atkins diet in 1995 or Protein Power or whatever. No other effort that you ever did in the past with keto has any bearing on what's going on now, except if you did have a really good experience with whatever variation of a low carb diet back in the day, maybe you should ask yourself, well, what was I doing then? What was I doing that worked so well? Probably just keeping the carbs low, because 20, 50 years ago, you couldn't get MCT oil at the store. Nobody was talking about fasting. Nobody was talking about macros. All they talked about was, I can't eat sugar and starch. So not only do we want a clean slate, and what matters is where we're going, not where we've been in terms of previous attempts at low carb diets, I also want you to give yourself the grace of wiping the slate clean with whatever carbohydrate you ate. Ate past tense behind you. It doesn't matter how much carbohydrate you ate or whether it was organic, small farm grown sweet potatoes or whether it was Lucky Charms friggin' cereal. It doesn't matter what it was or how much of it you ate or where it came from. It's in the past. Leave it there. Do not bring the guilt and the shame and the self-recrimination into the keto future with you. I don't know that that stands in people's way of getting back on track, but I know it can. It like just the emotional weight of that can sort of like drag you back, and you just are keep kind of living in that guilt. I don't know. Let me see if there's anything else I need to say about this. Yeah, just to reiterate and emphasize, I think when people say, how do I get back on track? You know how. You know the actions to take. You know the physical logistics of buying food that's low in carbohydrate and cooking it and eating it and avoiding foods that are not low in carbohydrate. You know. So it's not that you don't. How do you get back on track? You stop eating carbs, but how do we reprogram this to get back on track? And I really do think that has to do with reminding yourself just how simple this is and just how uncomplicated it is when you stick to what really, really matters, which is keeping those carbs low. Nothing else matters as much. There is nothing else any random guru out there is telling you to do. I don't care how many abs are popping out of their, out of this region of their body. I don't care how many muscles are flashing at you. Nothing they are going to tell you to do is going to be anywhere near as powerful or effective as just keeping your carb intake very, very low. So if thinking that you have to pull 87 different levers has been standing in the way of you getting back on track because you're psyching yourself out and thinking, oh, I don't have the time, like I can't sit down and plan every meal and track my stuff and use my app and pop out my spreadsheet and do this and go to 10 different stores to get the exact special kind of food I need. Like if that's the kind of stuff that's been tripping you up, I give you permission to just let it all go, to just, unburden yourself of that weight, the unnecessary weight of overcomplicating this and psyching yourself out by focusing on so many things that are not where the main focus should be. So, to get back on track, just keep it simple. And I think that's all I have for you. Again, check out all the links. I have that video on food prep that has really, really helped so many people. The other video I did recently on 2 ways to stick to keto, where I talked a lot more about this food list. And what else? The type 1 diabetes course. Again, that you can get on the wait list now, but you cannot purchase the course until November 28th. But once you purchase the course, you can start taking it immediately. It's self-paced, it's online. So that's it. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get notified when I have new videos. And I am on Patreon too. So if you want to be able to have access to multiple live Q&A sessions with me every month, multiple times every month, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/2itnutrition, but there's a link in the notes. See you next time.